Welcome back, designers. In today's tutorial, we are going to tackle the non-destructive editing technique that is layer masking. There will be evidence of layer masking and being able to identify non-destructive editing techniques on your Photoshop certification test. So let us get started. For this particular challenge, you guys have 3 artboards, and in each artboard, you need to show me evidence of layer masking with a slight variation in each. We're going to start with the first artboard, which is selective color masking. I'm going to use my zoom tool so that I can zoom in on this picture of Easter eggs. I'm just using my hand tool so that I can pan over it. And here I want to basically apply a black and white adjustment layer. So previously, we've gone to the image menu at the top of our workspace, selected adjustments, and applied adjustments that way. And adjustments can include things like hue and saturation, which we use for our color wheel, as well as the black and white adjustment that I'm looking for to turn our image black and white. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. The problem is this is a destructive way of adding an adjustment. As you can see from my layers panel, the edits took place directly to the original eggs layer. So I'm unable to make changes down the line if I change my mind and I realize I just don't want this to be black and white anymore. Theoretically, you could hit Command Z, as I'm about to do now, and get rid of the adjustment. However, if I'm starting this on a Monday and I'm coming back to it on a Wednesday, that option to Command Z will no longer be available. So if you're doing a long-term project, you want to make sure that you explore non-destructive editing techniques. And in this case, to add a black and white adjustment, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the bottom of my layers panel, and you guys will see a little shortcut that looks like a circle. And so from here, I'm going to select the adjustment called black and white. When I do that, you guys will see that instead of applying the edits directly to the original layer, now that black and white adjustment is its own layer. So that if I change my mind on a Wednesday, after working on this on a Monday, I can literally click the little eyeball icon to toggle the visibility of that layer, and I can go back to the original image. So that's basically the goal of non-destructive editing, is to give you the opportunity to change your mind. Another way that you guys can add an adjustment layer is by going to the adjustments panel. That usually sits right above your layers panel. In the Adobe certification test, you'll probably see the adjustments listed up here. So I'm looking for the one called black and white. I'm going to click on it. And again, that same adjustment just got added. I'm going to close this tab group real quick because I want my layers to be really visible. What you guys will notice with the black and white adjustment is that it comes with a mask already. So right over here where I'm hovering my mouse, this little white rectangle, that is your mask. So what I want to do is I want most of the picture to be black and white, but I want some of the eggs to peek through in their original color. If I was working destructively, I would use the history tool for this. But because I'm working non-destructively, I'm going to use the layer masking technique. So because the mask is already here, I'm going to be using my brush tool. So you guys are going to go to tool number 9, and I'm going to select the brush. Up here in my options bar, I'm going to go and change the brush size, make it a little bit bigger. By the way, if your brush is basically like a little cross cursor, similar to this one, you can just press caps so that you can see it circular. The size is pretty decent. So now I'm going to look under General Brushes and make sure that I have a soft round brush selected. And I'll show you momentarily why that is important. With my soft round brush, at the bottom of my panel, I want to make sure that black is the top color, because I'm going to be using black to start masking out the black and white adjustment. So you can see as I drag over parts of the image, I'm starting to reveal the original color. And in the mask, you can start seeing how there's areas that are now being revealed through the black and white adjustment. I'm going to try another egg up here to show you. As I go and start masking different parts of the image, you guys will see that they're going to start being reflected right over here. Now, theoretically, I could lower my brush size or maybe zoom in a little bit more so that I don't get all this hay and some of the eggs on the outside. I could also make my life a little bit easier by basically going and making selections of the eggs that I want to reveal. The great thing about the masking technique is that I can change my mind anytime. So all I have to do is flip to white as my color, and then using my brush tool, when I paint over with white, you guys will see that I'm basically masking that adjustment back in. So this is a really great technique if you are someone who's very changeable, as I am, who changes their mind very often. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make selections of some of these eggs using my quick selection tool. I'm actually going to go to the eggs layer. I'm going to click select subject. It didn't do such a great job. So I'm going to go and fix it by using Shift to add to my selection or Alt to get rid of my selection. Okay, cool. So I basically just made a selection of the eggs only. By the way, this just is totally extra. If you guys want to freehand it, that's totally fine by me. Having made that selection, I'm going back to my brush tool. I'm making sure black is my top color at the bottom of the toolbar. And I'm going to click inside the mask. And then I'm just going to start masking everything inside the selection. So the cool thing about doing it this way is that you're only able to apply the mask to everything inside the marching ants. Anything outside the marching ants is going to stay in its black and white color. So you can see it's a slightly cleaner way of doing this. I'm going to hit Control D to get rid of my selection. And you guys will see that now the entire basket of eggs is fully 100% masked out. Now if I think, well, I just don't like, I don't know, this egg being red, whatever, I can always flip the color to white and then mask it back into its gray color with the black and white adjustment. So that's how you do selective color masking. Okay, on to our second artboard. For this artboard, my job is basically to mask the bear and make him look like he's hanging out in outer space. For the second artboard, you guys will see that you have two layers. The bear image is on top of the galaxy image. So we're going to be applying a mask to the bear specifically. Clicking on the bear layer first, I'm going to go down to the bottom of my layers panel and I'm going to click this icon that looks like an old-fashioned camera. It looks like a rectangle with a circle in the middle. I'm going to click on it and it's going to add a layer mask. For whatever reason, if on the certification test you're unable to use shortcuts, you can do it the long way too, by going to Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. Either one is fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the brush tool so that I can get rid of the background behind the bear. I'm going to use tool number 9 again, the brush tool. Earlier, I had told you guys to increase the size of your brush and select a soft round brush. The reason why we're using a soft round brush is because it's going to be easier for us to mask the bear a little bit more realistically because he's so furry. If I zoom in, you can see that his fur is very complex. If I made a selection of the fur, it would look a little bit jagged and it would not look very real. I want it to look as genuine as possible. So the soft round brush is going to help me to mimic that a little better. I'm just zooming in so I can see very clearly what I'm doing. With the soft round brush and black selected as my color in the swatches at the bottom of my toolbar, I'm basically going to go and start masking out all of the background behind the bear. And the cool thing about this brush is that it kind of makes the edges a little blurry so that the fur, as you can see here, as I zoom in, starts blending a little bit more with the background. Here's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid using a hard round brush. So just to show you guys what not to do, in the options bar, I'm going to click on the one that says hard round. And you guys will see when I select hard round, while it does mask out the background, it looks very sloppy. you can see that the edges are now not even visible. The edges of the bear's fur. Looks like I hacked away at it with the scissors. And that's what I want to avoid most of all. Anytime you guys are masking with a brush, you want to select the soft, round brush under the General Brushes folder. We're going to explore brushes a little bit more in a future project. But for now, we're only going to be using that one brush when we use the layer masking technique. And you guys will see that this brush is very forgiving, and it's going to help your image manipulation to look all the more genuine. Oh snap, I got rid of the bear's face. Well, no big deal, because if a mistake happens like that, you can just flip to white as your color, and then you can mask in any areas that you accidentally got rid of before. I do recommend that you guys zoom in as you guys are layer masking, and be mindful to get rid of the edges of your image so that our image manipulation can look a little bit more genuine. So with that being said, I'm ready to move on to my last challenge. For my last challenge, I'm going to be doing some layer masking with gradients. Now, for my last challenge, you can see that I have a picture of some tree branches above this picture of a really pretty pastel sky. Now, I could theoretically use the brush tool and try to get at all those little cracks in between the leaves, but that would be absurd and incredibly time consuming. So what I want to do is, instead of doing a very precise image manipulation, is just do a blend between these two layers utilizing gradients. I'm going to create a mask to my tree layer, so make sure your tree layer is selected, and I'm going to click the mask icon at the bottom of the layers panel. I'm going to make sure I click inside the mask, and then I'm going to use my gradient tool, which you guys can find in tool number, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13. With tool number 13 selected, I'm going to make sure in my in my options bar that it has a black and white gradient. If you don't see a black and white gradient, you can click under basics, and the black and white option is going to be listed at first. Then, with, again, the mask selected, I'm basically going to go and click with my gradient tool inside of the tree. And as I click inside of it, you guys will see that it starts doing this gradual blend where several of the tree branches at the top are slightly becoming invisible because the black is masking out the tree and areas that are still in white are revealed. However, I did it backwards. So with that being said, I'm going to click on Command Z or Control Z on a PC. Then I'll go back to the gradient tool. I'm actually going to reverse this gradient, and starting from the bottom, because I want to blend out the part with the tree trunk. Starting from the bottom, I'm basically going to go and drag, and everything that's in black in this mask is going to be faded out. Everything that's in white is still going to be fully revealed. You can always adjust it further by clicking on these little stops right over here in the gradient, so that if I don't want any parts of the tree trunk to be visible, I can just go and click and adjust the mask. However, I do want some parts to be visible, so I'm going to leave it at this default. Doesn't that look cool? I could totally see like a very celestial kind of writing right over here. But for right now, that's not part of our challenge. Our challenge was to experience 3 ways of masking. So if we pan over to our first challenge, our first artboard, we did some selective color masking by applying a black and white adjustment to the image and selecting some eggs to reveal in full color. Then we did some layer masking with our bear. So we got rid of his background. We should see his fur blending nicely with the background of the galaxy. And then lastly, we did some layer masking with gradients so that we could apply a very gradual faded mask over our tree and make it appear as if it's blending with the sky. So I'm ready to export my final draft. As we've done before, we're going to create a multi-page PDF by going to File, Export, Artboards to PDF. I'm going to make sure that I select either my flash drive or for now my desktop as my destination. I'm going to make sure that I name this file. So maybe I'll call this Liz's Final Masking Challenge. And I want to make sure that it says multi-page document. This is very important that it says multi-page document. I'm going to click Run. As you guys know, it's going to look like it's glitching, but that is totally normal. We wanted to do that because Photoshop is processing your request. When you guys get the message saying it was successful, you're ready to preview it. So this is my PDF. As you can see, as I flip through each of the pages, it exported beautifully. This is what I'm going to be sending to Schoology. Hope that was helpful to you guys and that you guys are now a little bit more familiar in different masking techniques. I can't wait to see how you guys develop your own masking challenge. You can hit me up in the comments question if you have any questions.